All right, welcome to another edition of Really, I'm a Grandparent. I'm your host, James Lott Jr., and really, I'm a grandparent. I'm Papa Jamie. I'm a grandparent of four. I get my math. Four grandchildren, three grandsons, and a granddaughter. Zayden, Scarlett, Rylan, and now Trenton, the latest one, little Trenton Paul, which I'm just completely in love with. But I'm talking to somebody who I think this book will be good for him in a couple of years because the book is called I Don't Want to Turn Three. And it's by a guy who was coming from a whole other world of being an executive leader and things like that, the CEO of things, and now he's coming into the children's book world. I want you to help me welcome. He goes by Gramps Jeffrey, but he is Mark Joseph. Hello, Mark.
Hey, great to be here with James.
So what should I call you, Gramps Jeffrey, or should I call you Mark Joseph? Like, which one should I call you? You have dual names. You have two personalities.
I like the word Gramps. Reason being, I got these four little grandchildren running around this week. So, and they all say, Gramps, Gramps, Gramps. So let's go by Gramps.
So, okay, so I'm going to ask you, okay, the whole thing. So for me, as I've said on the show, I decided to be Papa. I said, I'll be Papa. They teasingly call me Gramps. I get certain cards that have Grandpa on them. Sometimes I laugh. But for you, was that what you wanted? Did you want to be called Gramps?
Yes, I picked it out. It was my choice.
Okay.
I figured, everybody else knows as Grandpa, but Gramps, yeah. And it's easy for little kids to pronounce because they pick up the G's pretty fast. So, when they're 2 and 3 years old, they can easily say Gramps.
That's true. Actually, that's very true. I have friends who are, they're Grandma and Gammy, and there's all these different things now, Gigi, and all these. I'm like, okay, I get it. But I like being Papa Jamie. I'm like, I'll take that. And Jamie was easy for them because it sounded like Daddy, and it kind of was close enough. So it's funny how we do that. And they're only kids. It depends on what they want to call you anyway, right? So I love that.
Yeah.
So you have 6 grandchildren total, correct? What are their age ranges?
They start at 1 and go all the way to 8.
Wow.
And my 8-year-old, in the book, we call her the wise old 8-year-old. She's the one that kind of is teaching the little kids what's right and what's wrong. It's and it really is interesting. And the reason I wrote the book was that you could see that around the age of 3 is when they're starting to decide what is right and what is wrong. But more importantly, is as I was watching their parents dwell with this. When you and I were kids and 3 years old, it was completely different than they are today. And when we raised our kids, we raised them completely different. I think about how my parents raised me. They didn't have cell phones. They didn't have the internet. They didn't have cable TV. They didn't have remotes. When I was a little kid, I was the remote. I was the one that had it. Had to go. Hey, son, go change the channel.
Yeah,
it's a whole different world today. And so, as you're watching your kids raise their kids, it just opens up your eyes and say, generation after generation. As we grow older, things change, and it's fun to watch how they react to these kids turning 2, 3, and 4 years old.
Yeah, my mother said we were the extension of her arms. That's what she said. The extension of arms. So you people out there today have no idea about turning the 4 stations you have. That was the channels. We had 4 channels, and that was including PBS.
Well, you're lucky. I grew up in a small town. We had like 1 channel.
You guys didn't get you didn't get like CBS, ABC. You didn't get all that, no?
No. In small town America, back in the 50s and 60s, there was 1 station. I mean, I happened to grow up in rural Ohio. And, if we wanted to listen to a radio station, well, during the summer, you had to listen to the Cincinnati Reds, okay, because it was the only station. But that made me a great Cincinnati Reds fan.
Hey, there you go.
But so it's a whole different world today as we're growing up.
You're making me want some Skyline chili right now. Speaking of Cincinnati Reds, I love my Skyline chili. So don't get me started. I'm from Ohio too. I have Ohio roots as a whole. Let's put that one day off camera. I have a whole Ohio family roots thing there. So, but I love my Bob Evans breakfast and my Skyline chili. Those are my 2 favorites.
Exactly.
I love about Ohio.
And you kind of wonder, those are the memories we have. What kind of memories are these 2 and 3 and 4 year olds going to have when they grow up? Are they going to be? Their memories are going to be spending 3 hours on their iPad all day long.
Right.
rather than going out and playing. I mean, what kind of memories will they have? So this is an interesting time to raise children, and because the electronic world is just completely different. So will the adults of tomorrow be like the adults today? Will they be smarter?
Right.
Is having the iPad, the internet, making them much smarter than we are? I think so. I
Well,
can
it's funny.
see.
It's funny you say that because I remember when the Discman came out, and my kids wanted to listen to their CDs on a Discman, and that was the toy we gave them. So like, okay, well here you go, but you have to listen to a certain amount of time, and then you get back to me later. Like, it was so interesting. I walk with the cassettes, a Walkman, gave it to the kids. Here's your Walkman. I guess it's so different. The video games were outside the home. You had to go to arcade, and we said, okay, you can play for a couple hours, like give you $1 or $2, and you can do that. Like, it's just now everything's at their fingertips, literally wherever they are. It's right. These little tab. I mean, here's my iPad. I remember when I had my first grandkids. I remember I had an extra iPad for them and all the games on it they wanted. It was like, so when I came to visit, okay, which grandkid was good? And I give them the thing, and you have an hour, and then you have 15 minutes. Like, we did a whole thing with that, and it was like, that's the difference for me from a Walkman to a tablet. That's how different from kid to grandkid it went for me.
Yeah, and you use it as discipline. You don't get to use your iPad unless you
Right.
do so forth. Yeah, so it kind of, and as books kind of explores this, is at what age do we really begin to take responsibility for our actions? Okay, and in this book it talks about the taking and sharing and all that, and then helping the homeless and so forth. But at what age? Is it 3? Is it 13? Is it 23? Or maybe really it's only till you're 63. That you start to be able to take responsibility for your actions that you really do. So that's kind of what this book explores too, at the young age, and their parents, is when do you start to really take responsibility?
When I say, I work in other fields, a couple other fields too, and one of the fields are organized. We talk about how you can start teaching kids chores around 2 or 3 years old. That's usually when they already started walking already. They're starting to have cognitive thought. They're already their personalities are forming. They say, the personalities form between 1 and 7. That's when they start really forming. So I think your book is perfect in the middle of all that. It's like they're starting to come to their own a little bit. They're starting to recognize and remember things. Like, oh, that's what that means. They're starting to put things together, connect the dots. So that's why I think your book is good. I think 3 years old is a great place to start.
Yeah, and then the other thing you've got to think about is how important it is to read to children, to read books to children. What are you looking for when you're doing it? Well, when you're reading to your kids, and again, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're creating bonding. You're really creating, that you guys see things the same way. You're creating listening skills for these kids, and that's today's kids. That's one of the things you kind of worry about. Do they have the listening skills? Will they actually follow what they're supposed to do? It helps with the cognitive and language development of kids, to do the reading and talking through that. And their attention span. They need this attention span. I'm telling you, watching them on these iPads, what kind of attention span do they really have? And reading books, whether it's my book or some other book, it's just so important for parents to do today. And I hope we're not getting away from that.
I agree. I think there's something about creating memories, creating traditions, creating bonding. Kids want to know that they're loved and appreciated. We all know that. That's like some of the basics. Give them some food and water and that kind of stuff too, of course, and some sleep. But they want to know that their people actually care about them. And I think whether it's a parent or grandparent or uncle or auntie or whoever, it's very important to have that. And reading is a tool to grow closer. And say, because I have books that I remember that are my favorites. I think like the Giving Tree and Where the Sidewalk Ends. So there's certain books that I was read to as a kid that I'm like, I remember that. I remember being read to as a kid with some of these books, and I'm old and I still remember that stuff. So you know what I mean. Mark, it's like Gramps. It's kind of like it's. I think it is important to create those memories early.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what's fun is I see the 8-year-old reading to the little kids, and they pay attention, and that's just another way for them all to bond. Because again, when we were growing up, we lived more with our families. We did things with families. But today's world, in my family, there's cousins in Florida, there's cousins in Texas, there's cousins in Arizona. They don't have that bonding, and reading and spending the quality time with family is just so important today.
So what made you decide to do this? I mean, like I said, you come from a whole other world, and it's still kind of positivity stuff, things like that. But it's kind of like a children's book. Okay, so how did that happen?
Well, I did this because it's kind of COVID
Okay,
involved.
okay,
We had a whole year here where we were isolated from each other. And I happened to be lucky enough to get enough time with the kids, but everybody was isolated from each other. And so it gave me a chance whenever we got them together to see how they interacted and how they really bounced off each other. And that was my motivation was, in this isolated world of ours, how do we get our family together? Luckily we're coming out of this.
yeah.
Hopefully it'll be sooner than later. But that really was my motivation was, get everybody stuck around the country doing their own thing. How can we kind of try to get them together and bond them together? And that was my motivation to do this.
Yeah, that's good. So, okay, so who did you collaborate to do the drawings and everything, those illustrations? Who was the person you collaborated with?
Oh, it was we had the book publisher had a team of people that did that for me. So luckily, because I can't draw.
I can write, but I can't draw. That's same here.
Yeah, I'm not the artist, so I had to have somebody else do that for me. But it was kind of fun because you got to explain. I mean, they're all based on real pictures. In other words, I sent them real pictures of the kids doing whatever they were doing, and they translated it into the book.
Okay, good. Very cool. Very good. Has any of your so you said the old 8-year-olds, your 8-year-olds read it for sure, right? What does your 8-year-old say to you?
No, she says, this is my favorite book.
Yeah,
Because but what's interesting is because there were some words there that she didn't quite understand, but the more she read it, it got better for her. And one of the fathers was reading it to the two kids last night, and the third kid was there, and he came running into me. He's the 5-year-old. He says, I want to change my image in the book. He says,
"Oh, funny! Oh my God!"
I've kind of I've grown out of sea creatures, and I'm into Minecraft. He says, "Can we go back and change that to Minecraft in the book?" And I said, "Well, yeah, maybe the next book will do that."
Yes, exactly.
But it's great to hear them, and the little 2-year-old, she says, "That's me, that's me." So it's fun to watch.
What kind of grandfather are you? What type are you? What type of grandfather are you?
It's interesting because my wife, who they call Bubby, and I were talking about this. She's a much more disciplinarian.
Oh, okay, yes.
She gives them the timeout. She's the one that says you can't do this. She's the one that says you can't turn on the TV until you've eaten your breakfast.
Yeah.
If it was up to me, I'd say, okay, let's watch a little TV and watch breakfast together. So that she is the disciplinarian. I'm the good old Gramps, and that's probably why they call my name. What's interesting while this book was going on, I was writing the book and so forth with the isolation. I started with the 2 that were in Florida and in Texas that couldn't come see us for a year. We started playing a dinosaur game. Where are the dinosaurs? And so every night I would take a bunch of dinosaurs and put them in different places in the house. So like, for instance, the dinosaurs were in the refrigerator looking like they were eating the berries. The dinosaurs were in the sink helping Bubby wash the dishes. The dinosaurs were in where we walking up the steps, counting how many steps they've gone. So all of a sudden, we had the dinosaurs in 50 different places throughout the year, and every night these kids would call up, and they wouldn't ask for Bubby, they'd ask for Gramps. Gramps, where's the dinosaurs? What are the dinosaurs doing tonight? and that really was a helping, a bonding kind of thing with me personally and the grandkids, because they wanted to know what the dinosaurs were doing in our house tonight.
Yes.
So that was kind of fun.
I like that. I love that. I love that. So where can people find the book?
You can find the book on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, Target, most of the independent bookstores, and just go online and put in Gramps Jeffrey, or put in, I don't want to turn 3, and you will see, you'll find it. It's all over the internet right now.
And why Jeffrey?
That's my middle name.
There you go. I like that. Like Jeffrey Joseph. I like that. Okay. I was like, why Jeffrey? I'm like, why not Grandpa Mark or Grandpa Marky or Grandpa Joseph? I mean, it was like, oh, Grandpa Joe.
Yeah. Well, Jeffrey spelled Jeffrey, which is one way to spell Jeffrey.
Yeah.
And as long as I've been married to my lovely wife, she still spells it the other way.
Well, that's so funny. That's hilarious. Oh my God. She gets away with it. It's fine.
Right. So that's one of the reasons I said, I'm putting that in a book.
I love that. So funny. I love it. Well, thanks everybody. So go to, I think it's I don't want to turn 3. I think you can also go .com, right? You can look there too at that, right?
Yeah, you can go to I don't want to turn 3.com. You can buy it there.
Yeah, go there, folks, and get this book for your kids. Get the book for your kids, grandkids, nieces and nephews, great nieces and nephews who are of that age group or a little older. They can read it to the kids that are younger. Many of them have younger siblings. So I think it'd be a good way to put them together. A little reading time. I love that idea. I love that idea.
Well, thanks, James.
All right, so please go ahead and follow him. He's also on LinkedIn. He's on a bunch of places you can find him. Also, I'll put the links inside the description, of course. We're all about books. We love books that are positive and that are doing positive things for our kids and grandkids. It's a grandparent show. I want to thank feedspot.com for always featuring us and calling us one of the top 20 grandparent podcast of 2021. I have this a long title, but I'll take it because I love doing the show and I love talking about grandparenthood. And if you're out there and you're a young grandparent, you want to talk about your life as a grandparent, contact me. DM me anywhere at James Lott Jr. on all social media platforms. I'm all over the place. You can just Google me too, and I'll pop up for you. I won't pop up at your house, but I'll pop up everywhere else. You can see where I'm at. But this is really, I want to be I am a grandparent, and you can follow us on all the streaming services, which are from Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, everywhere. Just go ahead and find it, hit the follow button. And the videos are on my online network. That's JLJ Media on YouTube. The subscribe button down here somewhere. It's either here or here or something like that. Hit that subscribe button and check out the other episodes. Everybody, please take care of yourselves. And if you have grandchildren, hug them. If you get a chance, hug them.